Day 3 Introduction. Heaven's Worship, when heaven sees Jesus clearly. Welcome back to the Lamb, the Scroll, and the Kingdom. Over the past 2 days, we have seen the mystery of the seven-sealed scroll and discovered why Jesus Christ alone was found worthy to open it. Today, we witness what happens when heaven sees Jesus clearly. The moment the Lamb takes the scroll from the hand of the Father, everything changes. The 4 living creatures fall down. The 24 elders bow in worship. Angels raise their voices. And soon, all of heaven joins in a song of praise. Why? Because worship is heaven's response to the worthiness of Christ. Revelation chapter 5 reminds us that true worship is more than music. It is the natural response of hearts that recognize who Jesus is and what he has done. The closer heaven looks at the Lamb, the louder its worship becomes. And perhaps the same is true for us. The more clearly we see Jesus, the more naturally worship flows from our hearts. Today we will explore heaven's worship, the song of the redeemed, and the overwhelming response to the Lamb who was slain and now lives forevermore. So as we begin, consider this question. How would my worship change if I truly saw Jesus as heaven sees him? Welcome to Day 3. Heaven's Worship, when heaven sees Jesus clearly.
We often talk about worship as if it is a musical genre on a streaming platform, an emotional concert experience, or just the 20-minute routine we sit through on a Sunday morning. When worship is narrowed to a musical genre, it detaches the act of praise from the broader, everyday existence described by the biblical authors. To understand the actual definition of worship, we have to look away from our earthly stages and examine a specific climactic moment recorded in the heavenly throne room. In Revelation chapter 5, the Creator sits on the throne. In his right hand is an ancient sealed scroll, the decisive document of human history. Then a central figure steps forward. The text describes a lamb looking as if it had been slain, standing right in the center of the throne. As soon as the Lamb takes the scroll, the entire heavenly courtroom erupts. The 24 elders and the living creatures immediately drop to the ground. Why does this specific sight, the Lamb taking the scroll, cause heaven to spontaneously react? The answer changes how we are supposed to respond to God every single day. The elders in Revelation 5 don't start by singing. Their first visceral reaction is physical. They collapse. The elders aren't following a script. They are reacting to the presence of the Lamb. Their behavior suggests that seeing Christ clearly is what triggers the impulse to worship. The Old Testament clarifies this through the Hebrew word shakah. Often translated as worship, it literally means to fall prostrate in total surrender. Authors often pair this with kara, meaning bowing or kneeling. In Psalm 95, these terms are stacked, describing a progressive bodily lowering. Returning to Revelation 5, as these elders fall prostrate, they hold golden bowls full of incense. These bowls represent the prayers of the saints. They indicate that our earthly cries and petitions are an integral, valued part of this grand heavenly liturgy. Combining these linguistic clues reveals worship as an organic reaction, a physical and spiritual reflex to recognizing God's supreme worthiness. So how do we mirror this heavenly reflex here on earth in our own daily routines? In John's Gospel, Jesus tells a Samaritan woman worship is no longer tethered to a specific mountain or temple. Those localized shadows are obsolete. He introduces a new requirement. Worship must be conducted in spirit and truthfulness, grounded in the person of Christ rather than physical locations. Hebrews contrasts this with the Old Covenant, explaining that believers have moved away from Mount Sinai, a place of unapproachable dread and blazing fire. Because we receive an unshakable kingdom, the author urges us to offer latreo, acceptable service. This is service driven by gratitude, reverence, and awe. Christ's ultimate sacrifice shifted the focus of worship from location-based rituals to a continuous, grateful reality available to all believers. Worship is the divine reflex. It is the natural, unavoidable response to clearly seeing the Lamb who was slain. This reflex incorporates our prayers, our baseline gratitude, and, as Hebrews 13 describes, our ethical daily actions. If you are experiencing spiritual staleness, or if your religious routines feel hollow, there is a way forward. The solution is not hunting down a more emotional song or finding a church with a better atmosphere. The solution is gaining a clearer, sharper vision of Jesus. When you look at the Lamb, what is your reflex?